Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. And welcome to Lesson 1 on solid geometry. I know none of this is an ideal situation, but I have to admit I'm kind of excited that we're up to solid geometry at this point when we're in this crazy situation. So, let me go through this with you, a little bit of information and get you started. And I'm very excited about what we're going to do with this today. So, as far as a three-dimensional shape goes, 3D standing for three-dimensional, you already know that. We looked at this point at polygons in 2 dimensions. They had length and width, 2 dimensions, length and width. And now we're going to look at them in 3 dimensions where they have length, width, and height. So they're coming right up off your paper or off your iPad for that matter. And in the first example we have here is a cube. Many of you are familiar with a cube. What I think is funny is, ice cubes, the thing we talk the most use of the word cube, are not even cubes when you really think about it. Mine are shaped like, I don't know what. We're going to talk about what mine are shaped like later, but they're not cubes at all. A three-dimensional shape has some important parts that I want you to be aware of, okay? They have faces, okay? The faces of the figure are the flat surfaces of a 3D shape. They're all in a plane. So planar, flat, those flat surfaces we talked about as far as geometric planes, the faces are those planes, okay? And where those faces intersect each other, when 2 of them intersect, we get an edge. And it creates a line, right? A line is created when 2 faces intersect. You see one right here. And then you have vertices, and vertices, that's the plural of vertex. So one of them is a vertex, and plural is vertices. A vertex is the point where 3 or more faces meet. And that would be just a corner, like this, little corner, okay? Now a cube has 6 faces, 8 vertices, and 12 edges. And what's really interesting about all of those faces, they're all equal. All the faces in a cube are congruent. So they're all the same size. Moving on to the rectangular prism. A rectangular prism also has 6 faces, but they're rectangles in this case, and which means they could be squares, right? Because we know squares are rectangles. 2 of the faces are equal, okay? And we call those equal faces the bases. Now, in a rectangular prism, all prisms have a pair of congruent faces that are parallel. Rectangular prisms, it could be any of them, so it's really not interesting, but when we see other prisms, you'll see what I'm talking about. They have 12 edges and 8 corners, just like the cube, because, as many of you know, a cube is a blank blank. You can fill in those blanks. All right, next. Triangular prism, a different kind of a prism. This is what's going to be important to look at, the bases, okay? Many times when we look at a triangular prism or we draw a triangular prism, it's drawn in this manner, okay? It's laying down on one of its edges, and that edge is a rectangle, okay? It's key to understanding prisms to know that where are the 2 pair of congruent faces that are parallel to each other? They are the triangles. That's why it's called a triangular prism. Okay? And it has a triangular cross section. If you cut it, it would be a stack of triangles. They would all be the same size triangle. If you cut it along the rectangle, they're going to change sizes. So it's key to the prism to knowing what the base shapes are, especially the triangular prism, because it has two triangular faces, which we call the bases, triangular bases, and then it has three rectangular sides. Okay? 6 corners and 9 edges. Another prism I love is the pentagonal prism. Pentagonal prism. 2 congruent pentagons connected by rectangular sides. You can count its edges, and no one is going to ask you how many edges and how many vertices it has. But it is important to know the shapes that make up these figures. Okay? So you got 2 pentagons congruent to each other, connected by rectangular sides. Oh, here's an interesting one that you're very familiar with. 3-dimensional shape called a sphere. It has no edges, has no vertices, and it has one face. And actually, not this face, its face is actually not a plane. So that's unique. If you think about it, its face is not a plane. Lots of questions about spheres. And also, if you cut it in half, now it has a little face. I'm kind of hesitant to cut it in half. But a half of a sphere is called a hemisphere. Mr. Mayer or Dr. Mazer has taught you, probably you've spoken about hemispheres. Okay, we also have a cylinder. A cylinder has 2 edges, because remember, edges are where faces meet. So there's one, whoops, that just jumped, sorry about that. There's one here, one edge, and one edge there. This piece right here is technically not really there. It's just there because this is a 2-dimensional drawing. Think about that for a second. It's really not an edge. Okay? There are no vertices. There are 3 faces. And that face there on the lateral part of the cylinder, because the circles are called the bases, it kind of acts like a prism. It's a stack of circles. That lateral part is a rectangle. Okay? Think about a can, right? A can of soup. Probably now that we have all this, do you have emergency food prepared? We have some emergency food in my house, and you take the label off a can of soup. It's a rectangle. Okay? We'll be talking about things like that. And finally, we have our pyramids. Pyramids are it's very important to note what the base is. Okay, so you can have a triangular pyramid, triangle on the bottom, triangular faces coming up. So there's 4 triangular faces, and meeting at a point of vertice at the top. Or you could have a square-based pyramid where there's a square in the bottom, triangle still coming up. So you have one from each of those sides, making 4 triangles, 1 square base. So you have the square plus 4 triangles. Okay? So those are the figures. Now, this is how this remote online home learning is going to get interesting. Okay? Here's what I want you to do. we're going to have a scavenger hunt because we got to make this fun. This is boring. We're going to have a scavenger hunt. It's due Tuesday at 3 p.m. I want you to find examples of these solids and take pictures of them. Choose your best 5 and submit them on a Google form that I'm going to provide. And you submit them by whatever they are to categorize them. If it's a triangular prism, you put it under triangular prism. If it's a cube, you put it under cube. Try to get the picture just right so someone who's looking at it can see the 3 dimensions. Okay? So try to really use your camera a little bit. Try to get a good picture. Beware of figures that may not be just one solid. Okay? For example, my garage. My garage, it pretty much looks like a classic garage. Okay? And there's a roof on it like this. Okay? This is actually a composite figure because it's a rectangular prism on the bottom with a triangular prism on the top. This is called a composite figure. We'll talk about these later on. But right now, I don't want you to take a picture of my garage or your garage or anybody's garage unless you can find one that is one single solid, not composite. Okay? Also, be creative. You're at home. If you can't find a solid, first of all, you should be able to find them. And they're everywhere. They're in your pantry closet. They're in your refrigerator. They're in your sports cabinets. They're in your garage. They're when you're walking down the street. Take a walk. You might see, right now I'm looking out the window and I see a telephone pole with this weird metal cylinder on the top, on the edge of it. It must be some kind of transformer. They are everywhere in our world. Go out and find one. I was walking this morning and I saw a mailbox and I was thinking, a mailbox? That's a composite figure, kids. Be careful. You can't use a mailbox. But what figures make up a mailbox? Take a walk. Look at one. Figure it out. Okay, so I'm giving you today and tomorrow to do this. Be creative. If you're stuck, don't cry. You only need 5. So if you can't find one, honestly, I'm telling you, look around. Look more carefully if you can't find something. And you know what? If you can't find it, you're at home. Make it out of clay. Make it out of straws. Don't put them in the ocean. Make them out of toothpicks. Make it with paper. Make it with Legos. I don't care. Let's have fun. Let's have fun with solids. Oh, one last thing. Prize. There will be prizes because I will pick the picture. I'm going to think of a way to make a prize out of some of your great pictures. I'm looking forward to seeing what you send. Also, tomorrow, Tuesday, I want you to meet me during our class period on Google Hangout. I'm going to provide you with a link on Tuesday to meet me. So period 1, that means you got to set alarms. You got to wake up early. I want to see you at 8 o'clock online. And come on, brush your teeth first. Meet me at 8 o'clock on Tuesday. I just want to check in with you. I want to see your faces. I miss them. And period 7... You know what time period 7 starts better than I do. It's when the bell rings. Period 7, I'll meet you at 12:43, right after lunch, 12:43. You don't need an alarm because if you are not up by 12:43, you're having problems. So, I hope you're doing well. I miss you, and I'll see you on Tuesday. Have fun with your scavenger hunt. Bye.